For anybody who doesn't know Academy of Entrepreneurs, we are the world's first accredited incubator, as well as accredited school. So basically our purpose is to help you to turn your idea into a business and then grow and scale it. So we have a team of mentors that can help you do that. We have weekly workshops with the likes of Google and other businesses. And basically the reason we decided to organize this webinar with Edward Miller, our trusted migration lawyer, is because we're aware that many people are looking for pathways to kind of stay longer term in Australia. And we realized there was a lot of interest in finding out more. As Edward, I'm sure you'll go through, there's been some recent changes in the past kind of month or so with this visa. So the idea was to kind of get updates on how people might become eligible and what it's all about.
All right. So hello, everyone. For those who don't know, yes, hello.
I think all good.
Okay. All right. For those ones who don't know who I am, my name is Edward Miller. I'm a migration lawyer, principal director of Miller and Lawyers and Migration Agents here in Sydney, in complete lockdown. Can't even go to the office and whatever, but we're still working day and night and try to help everyone who either is here and stuck and trying to find solutions, obviously, to their migration problems, or obviously opportunities, you know, and obviously for those ones who are overseas and desperate to come to Australia whenever it's gonna be, but it will be for sure. Okay? So I've been helping sort of Academy of Entrepreneurs with various sort of legal, you know, questions, issues, you know, help their students and their students and their clients and families with sort of migration advice and visa options. And obviously the Academy of Entrepreneurs, the only school which sort of provide this tailored support for those overseas individual students who are interested to do some sort of entrepreneurial activity in Australia, means starting up their sort of businesses, and obviously in order for them to stay obviously in Australia and grow their businesses, they would need to be on some sort of a visa to do so, which allows them to continue and sort of prosper with their businesses. So today we will be talking about, I'll try to be brief because usually I go for hours, and this is sort of what I do when I advise clients, because every single person has their own individual questions and circumstances. But today I will try to talk a little bit briefly about this entrepreneur visa, which is part of the business and innovative stream investment visas, which is on the Department of Immigration site. You can clearly look at it. So it's part of the business innovative stream, entrepreneur visa E188E. That is the subclass. Okay. There's so many other streams available for the businesses, but this is this sort of a stream designed particularly for entrepreneurs. Obviously, I will leave some room for questions at the end of the seminar. So you might have sort of some questions or clarification or things like that, but try to make the questions as general as possible. And I would always encourage you guys to contact me individually if you've got particular interest and questions about this visa. So I will tailor my advice directly to your particular needs. This sort of advice this evening for the general purpose only. Obviously, it's not a legal advice. It's for you to understand what is this visa all about, what is this visa for, what can you do with this visa, and how to sort of go about to start thinking of applying for this visa. Obviously, seeking qualified migration advice is very important, and I'm not just trying to sort of sell my services, because it is a complicated visa. A lot of people tried in the past to do it by themselves and they failed, and it's very costly to get refused, or obviously jeopardize their future in Australia if your visa gets refused. So please try to seek legal advice before sort of trying to launch this application, because it's a fairly complicated visa and you need detailed information on each step, in particular in your personal circumstances. So, all right. Let's start talking about sort of what is this visa is for. This visa was designed by the obviously government and Department of Immigration for the purpose to sort of enrich Australian society, to attract innovative minds from overseas, to attract the skilled business-oriented individuals with the great ideas who are interested to open some sort of entrepreneurial activity, open some sort of a business in Australia, which is particularly attracted to Australia, in particular state, let's say. Let's say it's New South Wales or Victoria or Queensland and so on, where the states think and Commonwealth government think that this sort of entrepreneurial activity or this type of business would potentially benefit Australia, benefit Australian society, and obviously those people who would be successfully open the business and will receive this kind of visa, they would be granted to stay in Australia for a certain period of time, and I come back to those details, with opportunity to obviously permanently migrate in Australia and continue operating their businesses here. Okay, so this is sort of the aim of this visa, originally sort of created by the Department of Immigration. But this visa sort of was not so popular previously for a very simple reason, that previous visa, exactly the same visa, entrepreneur stream, required you to obtain a capital from the venture capital limited companies before sort of lodging the expression to the Department of Immigration to be eligible. And for a lot of people, it was very hard to attract investors to invest at least $200,000 in their business, okay? Obviously, the Department of Immigration tried to run this program for a while, and they recognized that not many venture capital limited will be interested in obviously, injecting money into startup businesses. It's not just because of the COVID happened. It's just because some entrepreneurs they didn't have what it takes to present the valid idea to those investors, or the investor thought that the ideas are not really glamorous, are not really heavily profitable in the future. Okay, so a lot of entrepreneurs in Australia stuck with this sort of requirement of looking for an investor with at least $200,000 capital financing in their venture. Recently, the Department of Immigration proposed new changes, and that came through not a while ago, and those changes sort of are reflected on those sort of issues, particularly with funding. So as of now, the funding is still accepted if you sort of got the funds before 1st of July, but after 1st of July, this visa, it's by invitation only. So what it is now, it's basically the Department of Immigration, or particular states in Australia, they basically saying that if you are an entrepreneur, if you're interested to apply for this visa, if you've got a great idea, you may be eligible to apply for this visa if we invite you to apply. Okay, it's very similar. If anybody knows how the skilled visa work, it's by expression of interest. So basically what it is, the first step is to lodge the expression of interest, explain your business details, explain about yourself, your background, what have you done, your business background, and propose this idea to all across the states. And it's basically in one sort of window. So when you propose your idea for expression of interest, you're basically selecting all the states or particular states where you're planning to run your particular enterprise. And then you would be given an opportunity to explain what is the enterprise all about, what is your background, how long you've been sort of working on this project, what is your sort of educational and work-wise background. And then this expression of interest goes to the Department of Immigration and distributed to every single state in Australia, or in particular states you planning to open your business, okay? And you would be just waiting for the invitation. Once you're invited, obviously then you will be able to proceed to the second stage, which is the visa application. But before we sort of go on ahead, let me sort of explain to you guys what this visa allows you to do, okay? This visa will allow you to carry on your entrepreneurship activities in Australia. This visa for up to 5 years to be in Australia, and all your eligible family members can obviously be added to this visa as well. That's not a problem. After obviously specific period of time, you will be eligible for a different stream of this visa, subclass 888, which is the permanent resident visa entrepreneur stream. Okay, but to get there, obviously you would need to continue to operate successful entrepreneurship, entrepreneurial business, the one you obviously applied for. And obviously, when you're eligible for the permanent resident sort of a visa, you would still have to be operate in the same business and continue to grow and so on. Okay. Obviously, the cost varies for the visa. This is base cost for the visa, and obviously the additional applicants, if you've got partners or children or things like that, to add to your main visa application. That should not be much of a problem for you guys to understand, because every single visa has this sort of requirements. But this visa allows you to add your dependents. One of the important part of this visa is that you has to be sort of under 55 years old to carry out this entrepreneurial activity in Australia. There is a possibility to waive the age requirement if the entrepreneurial activity you're running in that particular state will bring significant benefits to that particular state. And that state, let's say New South Wales, will say, even though you're over 55, we could still approve you to apply for this visa. The other main requirement is that you have to have no prior history of any kind of visa refusal in Australia. So if you do have visa refused in the past and not overturned by the tribunal, you will not be able to apply for this visa. Okay, so you have to have a very clear sort of a visa record in Australia. Either it's the new visa or second visa or third visa. You should not have any history of refusals. Okay, so if you look at the eligibility requirements, okay, let's say that you are running or planning to run, obviously, a business in Australia, which you believe will bring significant sort of investment and obviously bring significant incentive to Australian economy, something very interesting. Okay, now you do not have to look for an investor to inject money in your venture. You would need to obviously prepare all your documents and lodge the expression of interest with the Department of Immigration website. Select the states where you're planning to be and operate your business. If you haven't got an idea where would you like to operate this business, you could potentially select all the states, and once the invitation comes in, depends from which state invitation comes in, then you can potentially move to that state and start your business. Okay, so that's not a problem. Obviously, be nominated. So once you lodge the expression of interest, it will take some time for the Department of Immigration to come back with the invitation. But once you receive the invitation, you can potentially proceed with the visa application. You have to be under 55, as I already explained, unless you could explain that even though you're 55 or over, your entrepreneurial activity will bring great benefit to the state. Obviously, you would need to comply with your entrepreneurial activity. And what does that mean? So the main criteria of entrepreneurial activity has to be in any area except. So there are particular restrictions in what area your entrepreneurial activity will not be considered for this visa. So entrepreneurial activity have to relate to innovative ideas that leads to commercialization of the product in Australia or service. So you could potentially sell or produce product or provide services. The difference, obviously, you probably understand between product and service. Like, for example, I'm a migration lawyer, I provide services. If you're selling, I don't know, candles or plates or something like that, that's a product, okay? And it has to be obviously in Australia. So the business have to start or be registered in Australia. The activity must not relate to the following. So these are the restrictions. So if your activity, if your business activity are planning to do as follows, you will not be able to use this visa. Okay, so what are those activities? So you cannot sort of for the purpose of this visa, you are not able to sort of open the business in the areas of residential real estate. So a lot of people thought previously that if I would become an investment an investor, so I would purchase, for example, block of units and rent them out, and this kind of real estate business would be able to help me and apply for this type of visa. The answer is no. So it cannot be residential real estate. Commercial, it's a different story. Okay, I could potentially look into it if one of you interested to open some sort of a real estate based for the purpose of the commercial activities, not residential one. We could have a look at that part. Also, labor hire arrangements are not considered viable for this type of visa. Labor hire arrangement, we're talking about recruitment agencies. Okay, if you're planning to open a business in the recruitment agency area, it will not work as well because these sort of activities are not allowed for this visa. The other sort of to make it clear, because it's so-called entrepreneur visa, it's for startup business. You cannot purchase an existing business or enterprise or franchise in Australia to use this visa. So if you're planning to buy a franchise or purchase an existing business, you cannot use this visa. There are other sort of business and innovative stream visas available for that particular purpose, but entrepreneur streams does not sort of allow you to do that. So, and it makes sense because this visa is designed for startup businesses. It's for those ones who've got an idea, who are just starting up now, or still putting things into perspective on their business plan and interested to obviously look into this type of visa.
Edward, we have a few questions, if that's okay. So Lucy is asking, is there a minimum revenue as one of the conditions?
There is no minimum revenue because it's a startup visa. Okay, it's a startup sort of a business type of visa. So you would need to obviously propose, as I mentioned probably earlier, a business plan, and I will talk a little bit about it later on. So the answer is no. Okay, because it's a startup business, but obviously you need to provide some sort of a projections, and those projections has to be reflected in your startup business plan. So that's the criteria. The Department of Immigration and State, they do not sort of capping you or telling you, okay, the revenue has to be this much. There is no requirement. It has to show those criteria that it's for the purpose of commercialization of product or service in Australia and develop an enterprise or business in Australia. That's all you need to provide.
Okay.
So this is sort of, is that answering your question?
I believe so. Let us know if it doesn't, guys. And then Oksana, perfect. Thanks, Lucy. That's answered that. Oksana is asking us, so if you got an invitation, then the funding proof is still 200K, and that can come from sources other than venture capitalists, correct?
Yes, that is correct. If you applied or plan to apply it or get the funds before 1st of July. After 1st of July, you don't have to. Okay, makes sense? If you already obtained the funds and done all that groundwork before 1st of July, like previously, and I know it's super hard, you can still go with it. That's not a problem. Okay, so if you obtain funding, you can apply under the provisions before 1st of July. If you're planning to do a look into this visa after 1st of July, you don't have to.
Okay.
After 1st of July, this visa is by invitation, so expression of interest to relevant state or states in Australia.
Beautiful. And so just to finish off that question, she says, so now proof of funding is not required.
Well, at this stage, they don't provide you proof of funding or anything like that. So this, instead of it used to be a visa by funding, put it that way, before 1st of July. Now it's visa by invitation. So if you've got a great plan to develop the business in Australia and the state interested in your idea, they will invite you and send you the invitation letter, and then you can obviously apply for the visa and start obviously developing your business. Yes.
Fantastic.
Which makes things totally different and much sort of easier.
Definitely. Yeah, no, that's much better.
Yeah.
So Ryan is asking if you had a visa refusal. So in his case, his company nomination failed. My company's training plan wasn't sufficient. So my training visa was declined. Basically, can he still apply for this type of visa?
Okay. So let me just read through visa refusal because
I am. It's basically. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Are you applied for training visa or working visa?
It was a training. My company applied for a training visa. It got refused because their training plan wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
So we appealed it, and it's still in an appeal process.
Still an appeal process. Well, technically, your visa has not been refused yet because nomination application is not a visa. It's it's an employer approval for the occupation you applied to be trained. So it's the business got refused, not you. Your visa still good because there is a tribunal going on. Okay. So if the tribunal will confirm the refusal, the other option would be for you to withdraw the visa application because the training plan failed.
Yeah, that's the plan anyway.
Yeah. So for the time being, you still has the visa. It's not been refused. It's the business was refused, and the whole thing is at the tribunal going. So the answer is no. You have not had the visa refusal yet. Okay.
Thank goodness. Thank you.
Yes, this is a sort of a common problem with the Department of Immigration as well. You know, in the case offices where the nomination application gets refused because of the insufficient training plan for the duration of training visa. But it's not uncommon. I mean, it's not uncommon. But your visa is still intact.
Beautiful. So Rajiv is asking, Edward, what documents do we need to provide for invitation?
The good thing, there are no documents to provide for invitation because it's a general statement explaining about yourself, about the business, about your entrepreneurial activity, what it's all about, how it will benefit to the state, and so on. But obviously, you would have to have all the documents in support of that statement already have it on your table. But at the time of the expression of interest, when you're lodging it to the Department of Immigration, generally speaking, you don't need to provide any documents. It's basically a summary of yourself, of your business. What are you planning to do? Where is your business would be placed? Where you're planning to open it? And once you prepare all that, you send it across to the Department of Immigration. And if the invitation comes through, obviously they will rely on information you provided on the expression of interest. So it's very important to correctly draft the responses to invitation, because if you miss something or you not exaggerate but overstate something, what are you planning to do, and it's not what you're actually planning to do, it could be a problem because the invitation will be sent back to you based on the answers, based on the questions, answers, and information you provided. So it has to be it has to be done properly and accurately. Okay? But obviously documents you would have to have already on the table, because once you receive the invitation, you don't have much time to collect the documents. And I will come back to the set of documents, preliminary documents, what you required to have at the time of the invitation, so you would not have to run in the last minute to get things organized. Okay.
Beautiful. So the next question is, if successful, what is the length of the visa?
5 years. Yes.
Beautiful.
5 years. Yeah.
Cool.
The first stage is 5 years. Yeah.
Awesome. I think maybe
the other question is, let's sort of talk. Let's keep this sort of keep those questions on the table, I'm just gonna go sort of roughly sort of document by document what do you need to collect in order to be eligible and sort of launch your invitation. Okay, obviously, okay, people already talking about it. Business plan, yes, you must have a business plan, not just for yourself, but for the purpose of the Department of Immigration and for the purpose of the invitation, because you will rely on the content of the business plan to lodge your expression of interest, to prove the state where you're applying to, that you've got a great idea. This great idea is well sort of formulated, well drafted. There is a financial projected, how much revenue, how much income you intend to receive in a good year, for the next, I don't know, 2 to 3 years. Usually the business plan should have part where it shows the business forecast for the next 2 to 3 years or something like that. So you would have to have this sort of a drafted in order to demonstrate that your business is with the view of a profit. It's an innovative idea, and you have also an understanding how to run this business. Because the last thing the Department of Immigration wants to approve your visa, knowing that you have no idea and you have no plan. So business plan is the most important, and you need it. And in fact, every time when I've got a client who I had few inquiries recently to lodge the expression of interest, the first thing I tell them, please send me your CV and copy of your business plan. Me being a lawyer, I'm not just migration agent, I'm a New South Wales solicitor. All this information is privileged, so I will not be able to, I'm not allowed, not just be able to, or I lose my license, I'm not allowed to disclose any of your innovative ideas to nobody, okay? But at least I will have a look at the business plan. I will assess where are the gaps, legal gaps, marketing gaps, or even financial gaps you're looking at for you to fix the business plan. I will analyze your personal sort of a CV to see whether you are sort of a qualified as well, because the Department of Immigration would be looking at two things. They would be looking at you, and they would be looking at your business or your idea. So they want to see that, to make sure that you know what you would be doing. So the business will not fail or on the paper, let's say. Because if you are planning to open something which you haven't researched, never done before, and personally you're in totally completely different area of expertise, it would be harder for immigration to say, yes, this business is actually with a view of a profit, should we approve the visa or not, kind of thing. So it sort of comes down to very logical reasons. So I've got a few clients who actually contacted me a few days ago about obviously lodgement of the expression of interest. They tried to do themselves and they almost made mistakes, because once you lodge the expression of interest, you can't undo anything. You can't email them and say, hey, I made a mistake here, I made a mistake there. It goes directly to immigration without coming back to you, okay? And this is very crucial to make sure that things done properly. So luckily, those two clients actually come back to me just before the submitting the expression of interest, and I've noticed there were a lot of mistakes because I look at their business plan, I look at their CVs, I analyze strategically about their business, I gave them advice about their business plan, and I've realized that they made a lot of mistakes in filling out the application. So I had to redo all that, and it's successfully been lodged. So let's talk about other requirements. So the business plan is a must. You must have it before even the lodgement of expression of interest in order to fill out the expression of interest correctly. You need to have a preliminary business plan. Later on, you can always adjust it, add things around when the invitation comes through. That's not a problem. But at least at the beginning, you must have a preliminary, simple, sort of a straightforward business plan. So that's document number one. Obviously, any applicant who would be interested in this visa, they have to meet also a minimum English requirement. And you have to obviously have at least a competent English. What is competent English? It's if you think of IELTS sort of a test band scores. We're talking about 5 in each or 5 overall. Okay, so very basic sort of English requirements, but you must have them. Obviously, you need to meet health requirements, just like for any visa. You might need to do the medical examination, which is very standard for any sort of type of visa in Australia. You have to meet the character requirements. You should not have any severe criminal convictions or problems either in Australia or back in your home country. So the criminal police checks will be required. And I always say, as a lawyer, if you do have some criminal issues in the past, please contact me so I could have a look at it and see what could be done about it, either to remove, either to explain the immigration or things like that. The last thing we want is to immigration find out that you had some sort of a debts or fines or other offenses recorded and we did not disclose on the visa application. If we don't disclose, it's a huge problem. If we disclose and explain, the Australian Department of Immigration is very fair. Okay, they understand that things happen in people's life, pleasant, unpleasant. But if you come and explain that you're not afraid to confront it, that you're a changed person, things happen in the past, the Department of Immigration is very fair in regards to that. Okay, so the other requirements at the time of the expression of interest, obviously, what you need to look. Okay. Very simple sort of documents like obviously your ID documents. We're talking about passports, all the documents potentially you can compile to in support of your business, including the business plan. And obviously, I usually receive all those documents and check them thoroughly before advising whether we need to lodge the expression of interest now, or we need to wait and complete a few things before being eligible, to lodge this visa application. I also assess, obviously, both visa applicant and the business, because I also specialize in business law, and will be able to assist people to obviously fix things with the business plan or give them an idea where to fix it and how to do things. Okay. So just a quick sort of a summary again. The old version of investment, sort of getting in investment from the venture capital limited, that's gone from 1st of July. Now this visa is by invitation. So pretty much any individual who is in Australia or overseas or interested to start a very innovative entrepreneurship activity in Australia, who are preferably under 55 years old and no visa refusal and no sort of criminal convictions, severe ones, are capable to apply for the invitation. Obviously, in order for you to apply for invitation, if you sort of using me, your migration lawyer, to assess your eligibility, I would need to analyze your personal situation, means I would need to have a look at your detailed CV, what you've done back home in Australia, if you're in Australia, and obviously your preliminary business plan to see what's the ideal about, what is needed for it, what are the gaps missing in the business plan. It's either financial or SWOT analysis or marketing analysis or competitors analysis, to see what the Department of Immigration would be obviously happy with it. Okay. The other thing I would sort of stress out, let me just have a look at my notes. The last bit I wanted to say about this visa, obviously it's a very new visa, and I can see that a lot of states are welcoming this visa. For example, New South Wales, and I just opened the New South Wales sort of government website where they basically new round of invitation was proposed for this visa, and it's all starting until obviously next year. So there are usual invitations from 1st of July to let's say 2021 to 1st of July 2022. And any individuals are welcome to lodge expression of interest if they're obviously got a great idea, got a business plan, know what they're doing, and obviously get qualified advice.
Just on that, Edward, someone asked a really good question, and they're asking if applicants can submit multiple expression of interest, so potentially if they have different ideas.
The answer is yes. Okay, it is possible. However, don't forget that the Department of the expression of interest linked to Department of Immigration, and if you lodge too many expression of interest for a business venture, one of the case staff officer who will see that you've got multiple expression of interest there, that will be a bit confused with you about your business. You know what I mean? Because the last thing they want is to see people launching a lot of expression of interest for business ideas they haven't got the dedication for. They want people to sort of formulate their idea and be dedicated for it. If just think about it from your own perspective. If you got 150 ideas, but none of those ideas you put any fundamental work, business plans, understanding, information, marketing research, you just have an ideas. Do you think the Department of Immigration will take you seriously? Not really. They will think that you are basically wasting their precious time. They want people who are determined, who's got the idea, they're 100% committed to that idea, they 100% believe that this idea will bring benefits to that particular state, and obviously they could provide perfect submissions and they would show their passion of what they're planning to do, but you can't show passion for 150 ideas, okay? It has to be one, okay? For example, if I recently looked at the, for example, the same sort of a visa, entrepreneurship visa in the state of Queensland, and they actually posted a slightly different visa, but exactly the same requirements through the Department of Immigration website, except they nominated particular area where they're interested people to open their businesses. So if we're looking at what sort of areas Queensland particularly interested in, we're talking about innovative ideas. So innovative ideas in terms of defense and science, digital, including cybersecurity, big data and blockchain, food, wine and age techs, health and medical technology, robotics, media and films. So this is sort of a, you can get a slight sort of example, what sort of ideas particular states interested. Okay, Queensland interested in that. I mean, in the New South Wales government website, it doesn't state any particular areas. So any sort of ideas are welcome, as long as they're well formulated, as long as they're structured, business plan obviously in place, and people actually know what they would be doing. Okay.
Beautiful. We have another question from Vahid. He is asking if there is any restriction on the number of employees to hire after launching the business.
No, the answer is no.
Beautiful. So also someone said after this visa of 5 years, what happens? What are the other visa options? Does it lead to PR, or how does that work?
Yes, this visa would link to permanent residence. As of now, I can't determinately say after how many years. Let me just have a look if they haven't changed anything on Department of Immigration website. The visa was always been for 5 years, and after 2 years, if you're still operating the business and the business is successful operating, nothing's changed, you're not being liquidated, you're not being deregistered or bankrupt, or there are no adverse information received either from you or from the business, you would be eligible to apply for subclass 888, which is also business innovative stream / for permanent residence. So this visa will lead you to permanent residence. It depends on your business and how you operate. Yes, yes.
Fantastic. So someone also asks, you mentioned 2 businesses, the employment agency and private property.
Yeah. So you don't need to wait until your visa expires to be eligible for permanent residence if you're still running your business. Okay, you don't need to wait until the end of your permanent on your entrepreneurship visa to apply for permanent residence. Okay. Sorry. Now back to the questions.
Cool. One more. So someone said, Edward, you mentioned two businesses, employment agency and private property, which are not eligible. Are there more?
No, that's all. As
Okay.
long as they're not a labor hire and it's not the residential sort of a real estate businesses. That's the only restrictions Department of Immigration so far introduced.
Beautiful. And then we have just one more. I know we've still got more questions coming in. This is awesome. So another question says, so the business plan should reflect the next 5 upcoming years for the duration.
I mean, there is no sort of a magic formula how many years the business plan would reflect. I mean, standard business plans, and you know, if you download the template of any standard business business plans, it goes to, some of them goes to up to 5 years, some of them goes to up to 3 years. But I think if you prepare a very good business plan and stating your projections for at least 5 years, or more accurate for at least 3, that would be beneficial. Just think about it logically, because the visa is for 5 years. So obviously you would like to put some sort of a projections for 5 years. So that sort of does make sense, right? I mean, for the first 2-3 years, they have to be super realistic, put it that way. After 3 years in your projections, you obviously could increase the margin, increase the profit to you think it's reasonable. But the Department of Immigration will be looking for the first 2 to 3 years to see if they make sense, because anything after 3 years, nobody knows, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I would suggest all the business plans should be prepared with the projections for 5 years.
Beautiful. Okay, awesome. So Carlos is asking, can 2 or more people apply with one expression of interest?
Mm-hmm. Well, sorry, one more time?
So can 2 or more people apply with one expression of interest?
No, it's per applicant.
Okay.
It's only per applicant. I've got this question here about competent English. I believe, let me just check on my database. I think the competent English, it's equivalent to, I think, 6. Okay. So let's have a look. Because previously 5 in each or 5 overall was enough. Now in IELTS, competent means 6, that is correct. And in PTE, it's equivalent to 50. So they want you to have fairly good sort of English.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Fantastic.
So competent now a bit moved on the plank to 6, equivalent to IELTS.
Beautiful. Another question here. So Ryan is asking, my business is within the physical and mental health coaching space. Is this an area that would be likely to be approved if everything is in order?
Well, it's hard to say to start with. I mean, the answer is I don't know, but I would need to look into it if you would like to get sort of a detailed advice about it, because the last thing I want to sort of say yes or no. I mean, at the end of the day, it's up to the Department of Immigration. And just because the business is in healthcare, it doesn't mean that it would be given priority over some other business, I don't know, in retail or food or things like that. It's all about the documentation. It's all about your expertise as the individual who is interested to run this business, and obviously the quality of work you put into business plan and all the paperwork. But I would be happy to review, and I would give you a reasonable prospect of success. That's what I usually do to every single client, being a lawyer. After reviewing all the documents, I have to give you a reasonable prospect of success of your business. So whether you would need to invest in it, or you might need to take a few steps more and then look into it, okay?
Beautiful. Okay. And then Carlos is developing further on his question. He says, if I am developing a business with a friend, how would we apply for an expression of interest?
Okay. And this is sort of, that's one of the area, and I have a lot of questions about it. That's where Department of Immigration sort of didn't think about it, because a lot of people who are planning to develop a business, they're not just doing it by themselves, you know. There's a partnership, there is a, you know, sort of investors, board of directors, and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, this visa is designed for one individual, so you can't have multiple sort of partners putting that sort of application through. So it's per person, okay? And I don't know, they will at some stage will correct this, but so far there are no dual visas at the same time, unless your business partner is your spouse.
Yeah.
Then you can add that person to one visa application. If it's a separate individuals, not related by birth or marriage, then one have to pick who will get the visa, and the other one would have to look at the different avenues. But there are also different avenues where people could potentially later on benefit from the business through the working visa, because once you set up the business and the business is operational, we could look at the idea of get the standard business approval for the purpose of working visa, so the other partner could be employed on working visa, which is not so straightforward, but there are potential avenues there as well.
Amazing. Cool. So the questions keep coming in. Cesar is asking, if one has little business experience but has a business education background and a strong business plan, will this scenario be likely for visa approval? I think you've kind of difficult.
Just to look at it, I don't know. I don't see why not, because the Department of Immigration does not want you to be a PhD in business and run multiple businesses in the past. I mean, if that's the case, that would be great. But this is an entrepreneurship visa. The Department of Immigration, I presume, would be looking at your skills, your experience, your understanding about the business, your understanding how to run the business, and that you've done your groundwork and research, and you know, to see that you are capable to sustain the business. Because the last thing they want to approve visa for people who just are interested of an idea, but once the visa gets approved, they're not going to do anything about it. That's the whole objective. Obviously, your qualifications and work experience or previous work experience in the field are very crucial, because the last thing the immigration wants to approve the visa for those ones who don't have sort of a relevant qualification and work experience in the area of their planning to open a business. Make sense?
Yeah, awesome. Cool. So we've still got some time left. We've got another question that's come in from
that's fine.
He says, if I need to hire employers outside Australia, should they go under a different visa procedure, or would they be granted under this business visa?
Well, again, this sort of a visa, it's for the founders, put it that way. So it's only designed for the person who has the idea, who is the founder and obviously major shareholder and director of the business. Any employees you intend to hire from overseas could potentially be sponsored under the overseas standard working sort of arrangements. So the working visa is always available if the venture, if the business you will open is capable to be a standard business sponsor, then you obviously can offer working visa to all your employees. Depends on obviously the size of the business, genuine occupation, the qualifications and work experience of those employees. But the employees, they are not coming to equations for the purpose of this visa. This visa only for the founders, for the owners of that business.
Okay, beautiful. Valerian asks, if we already started our business, should we add the results of the business in the application?
Well, the simple answer, there is no simple answer for it. Okay, first I would need to know how long have you been operating the business? Is this under a year, under 1 year, or it's already crossing over second year?
Okay, beautiful.
Because what I'm saying is, if the business has been operating for more than 1 year, it's not a startup business anymore. It's an established business. Once you first launch your taxes on behalf of your company in the business, it's no longer a startup business. Okay, but it's still okay. And answering your questions, yes, you obviously need to upload all your financial documents to show that the business actually started and the view of a profit. And the first year is reflected on the business plan, and it's correct that you are making those money you indicated on the business plan.
So, sorry, it's easier to talk than type. So would you recommend that we launch the application in the early months, years of the visa, the business, sorry?
Well, this sort of visa is for startup business, for people who's got an idea, who hasn't started much. But
Right.
also valid for those ones who've been already operated, as long as the business been operated, I believe less than a year, because if the business operated less than a year, you're still a startup business. You're not an established business.
Okay, thank you.
But if your question would be, you would need to provide all the financial if you already started. Yes, this is done, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. But obviously, I would need to have a look and review what's the business all about, what is the prospect of success, what's the financials looks like, and things like that. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
That's okay. Any other questions so far?
What kind of tips would you give people, Edward, for someone who is kind of thinking about this as a potential pathway to them staying permanently in Australia? What could you tell them as a lawyer?
Well, obviously, there are two categories of entrepreneurs, I believe. So far, I've spoken with quite a few, not just tonight, but for the past few years. There are those ones who've got a great business idea and they haven't got anything except, I don't know, booked domain and social media and nothing else. And there are those ones who actually already started doing things, who, for example, registered their businesses and, you know, got some sort of a online shops going on, and, you know, they're receiving some sort of a revenue and they already started working. So those ones who just got an idea and those ones who just started. So there's two different types of entrepreneurs. And the tips I could give both of them sort of are very similar. Those ones who are planning to do something and those ones who already started something, they have one thing in common. They need to provide, obviously, and prepare all the documentation about their business. Okay, and the business plan is the most important, regardless whether you're just planning your idea or whether you already started doing something. That's number one. Business plan is a must. Second, please seek legal advice and spend a little bit of money on consultation so you will get a tailored advice based on your particular information. Because the Department of Immigration website, sometimes it's very outdated, and even there they will say, please speak with a professional about your personal circumstances, which makes sense because a lot of people solely rely on forums, Facebook chats, obviously immigration website to make their decision, which is not highly recommended. Please speak with the professional, invest a little bit money to get a tailored advice, and, you know, proceed accordingly, you know, with the step-by-step instructions. At least that way you will have peace of mind. You will not, instead of searching for an answers, you will already know all your answers, so you will have a plan and course to pursue. Because sometimes there are, if you even think of this entrepreneur visa, you might have other avenues for other business innovative streams, because there are quite a few of them. So entrepreneurship is one stream. There are different sort of business streams there as well. So if you're not probably eligible in one, you could be potentially eligible on another. And even if you are eligible for entrepreneur stream, the professional will be able to tell you exactly when to fix things, what to prepare, and when to launch, and so on and so forth. So legal advice is very important, particularly in this sort of visa, because it's not a simple sort of application like tourist visa or student visa where you can potentially do it yourself or with your agent. Okay. The other tip I would suggest, I know that some entrepreneurs, and I came across of them, have multiple ideas. And that's great. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I would always encourage people and encourage entrepreneurs to put all those ideas on the table and pick one. What is the idea the most interested in you, excites you, believes that this idea would be great in Australia or in particular states where you operate in the business, and you will put your heart and money into it. There is no point to try to chase a lot of ideas. So some ideas are great, some ideas fantastic, but they are unreasonable, or they require a significant amount of capital and licensing requirement and so on and so forth. You know, I mean, if you go for that idea, that's a great idea, but what immigration wants to see, your dedication to one idea. I mean, if answering the other questions, if you've got multiple ideas, you can launch multiple expression of interest. That is okay, nobody gonna stop you. But just make sure every time you launch the expression of interest for that particular idea, it's backed up by your knowledge, understanding, research, business plan, and dedication. So that's the best tips I could say. And plus the last tip I would say, this idea, it's now open Australia-wide. It's an expression of interest. There's no need to look for the investment capital. It's by invitation from the state, which makes things much easier. But there's no point to launch expression of interest without a slightest idea, what do I need, where, or how to design the business plans, what is missing and things like that. Always seek for legal advice, particularly in that area, because once you invest a little bit in legal advice, it will give you, the person will give you a straight answers, whether you have chances or not. Because if you're just going to chase your chances without exploring your real options, you will be wasting time. And I don't know how much time do you have on your current visa, but you rather get a tailored advice and say to yourself, honestly, this is for me or it's not for me, and move on and explore other options, then invest money in your idea, start the business, and then got refused because for some reason or mistakes, or there was some problems with the paperwork or whatever, refusal could be while you're already operating the business and you're running out of your current visa. So I've seen these mistakes in the past where people just launch into the benches. The business idea might be very good, and they already start getting money, they start hiring employees, they decided to apply for the visa, they've made 100 mistakes, visa got refused, they need to leave the country. What are they gonna do with the business and all this spent money? They're selling the business for peanuts. Remember, this is a business, innovative stream. This is not some a regular visa you can apply. So you have to approach this from business sense. Just like, for example, you're planning to see an accountant to do your business taxes. No matter how much you know about it, you're still going to the tax agent to do it properly, right? The same thing, I would approach this particular stream because it's something to do with business and a lot of things could happen. But yes, the most important thing you would consider at the beginning is to preparing a very good business plan, then seek for legal advice and proceed accordingly with the time frame you would get an advice.
Beautiful. We have just one other quick question. Someone asked, should the business be up and running before applying for the expression of interest or before I receive the visa grant? Or can I put the business plan into action once I receive the visa?
You must have a business plan before even considering this visa. If you're a real entrepreneur and you're interested to operate business in Australia, first thing you do is drafting business plan. Okay, you would not need to submit business plan at the time of the expression of interest, but all the questions on the expression of interest will relate to the parts of your business plan. If you don't have it in front of you, you will not be able to launch expression of interest, or you will be able to launch expression of interest with vague details about your business, which will not attract any sort of a state government to even look at your business idea. So business plan is essential right from the beginning. Okay, you will need it also at the time of invitation, because once invitation comes, you will need to provide the business plan as part of the visa application. You can keep it in your desktop after when visa is granted. After visa is granted, you don't need to show that business plan anymore. It's your guidelines and track of your business. That's what the business plan is for. But
Okay.
you must have it before.
So the business doesn't have to be active before they receive the visa. They could start the business after they receive the visa?
Well, the thing is, obviously they want you to start the business while you're waiting for expression of interest, because at the time of the expression of interest, two things will happen. They will basically ask you, have you already started your entrepreneurial activity or not? Either of those questions are okay to answer. If you haven't, that's okay. If you started, that's okay. If you already started, you might just continue, but then you just need to wait for the expression of interest. That's all. So this visa is for those ones who just started and for those who have an idea. Obviously, you will save a lot of money if you prepare a bulletproof expression of interest that you are planning to open the business and then just wait when the invitation comes to start the action. But if you don't want to wait, you want to start the business, you can. You can. Why not? If your current visa allows you to start the business, yes.
Amazing. Cool. So I've actually just put in the chat that your email, Edward. So if anyone wants to reach out to him, or they have further questions, or they want to kind of seek help, his email is just there. It's edward@visaaustralia.legal. But otherwise, yeah, thank you so much for today, Edward. Thank you for answering everyone's questions.
You're welcome. If you guys have any questions, shoot me a quick email. We'd be happy to answer. Okay, or if you would like to set up a private consultation and discuss your particular business idea, and what I could do is I could basically break it down for you. What do you need to think about? What are the initial steps? What are the sort of licensing requirements you need to look at? How you go about the business plan, where and who can do the financial part of the business plan. And obviously, I will have a look at your personal sort of documentation and information, and I will tell you exactly that this visa is for you, whether this visa has a probable success, and whether you should start your entrepreneurial activity now or you should wait for the expression of interest. Obviously, in addition to, I could do all the visa process starting with the expression of interest, just like I'm doing for another few clients they inquired a few days ago.
Amazing. Thank you, Edward, for your time.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for all your time. Stay safe. And yeah, this visa is, for most of you, I believe, would be appropriate. It got much easier. So think of business, start sort of getting things seriously. Draft your preliminary business plan. If you would like me to have a look at it and set up a consultation to have a look at your business plan and discuss it, happy to do it. My email address is there. If you got more questions, let me know.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Edward, and see you soon.
You're welcome. Sure.
Cheers.
Bye,
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.